Good morning, Messiah. Welcome to our Friday devotion. It's good to be with you and reflect once again on one of the Psalms. And today we're going to be looking at Psalm 20, which, at least here, is entitled A Prayer for Victory. And I want to read it with you and then reflect a little bit on it. It's only 9 verses, and so it's one of those psalms that you can pull up on your iPhone or your iPad as you go throughout the day. And I encourage you to do that, to just pull it up sometime later and then reflect on it a little more, because I've read through it the last few days a number of times and have been thinking about it. And it would be, I'm finding some ways that I might translate it for our time, but you might find your own translation in terms of how do I live this or think about this in our day. So I'm going to read it and then we'll talk about it a little bit. The Lord answer you in the day of trouble. The name of the God of Jacob protect you. May he send you help from the sanctuary and give you support from Zion. May he remember all your offerings and regard with favor your burnt sacrifices. May he grant you your heart's desire and fulfill all your plans. May we shout for joy over your victory, and in the name of our God set up our banners. May the Lord fulfill all your petitions. Now I know that the Lord will help his anointed. He will answer him from his holy heaven with mighty victories by his right hand. Some take pride in chariots and some in horses, but our pride is in the name of the Lord our God. They will collapse and fall, but we shall rise and stand upright. Give victory to the King, O Lord. Answer us when we call. So right there at the very end, it tells us a little bit about the one for whom an ask of victory is being made, and it's the King, the one who is the leader. In so many ways, you think about the history of the kings of Israel, the leader in every way of God's people in the history of Israel. And there's this wonderful sort of prayer that this psalm is to help and support and fulfill all the desires of the king, all the petitions of the king, to give the king victory as the king rides out to defeat those who are in opposition. In fact, if you stand in opposition to Israel's king, the psalmist writes in verse 8, they will collapse and fall, but we shall rise and stand upright. Now, I'm wondering how we might think about this in our day. One, we don't have a king, and two, we are not a nation like Israel was, sort of a divinely anointed monarchy. So how do we begin to think about this? And do we think about it in terms of our leaders, no matter who is elected president or governor or some other important official? Are we praying for their victory over their enemies? I don't know. I guess you could, but I'm kind of taking it in a little different way. I'm thinking about our King, the one that we call Jesus, the one we sing to and pray to, the one we ask to guide and protect and save us. How is Jesus in his ministry a king that we can look up to support? What has he asked of us, his people? And he does some very basic things, I think. Obviously, love God and love our neighbor. Reach out a hand of support to those who are broken in body, mind, or spirit. To offer the activity of healing and reuniting those who are outcast with the community. These are the kinds of things Jesus did and invites us to do. And so what is victory for us, for Jesus, in those realms? Maybe victory here is when we bring food to the food bank and we know that it's being distributed to those in need. Maybe victory here is when those that we see as our neighbors, those with whom we have very strong disagreements, maybe it's thinking about them not as our enemies, but as in some way our friends, those with whom we might, even if we disagree about politics or different ways that we should organize and live our lives, maybe we don't think of them instinctually as people to be defeated, but maybe the real victory here is when neighbors, relatives, friends find out what they hold in common rather than what what separates them. Maybe victory here in Psalm 20 is not a military defeat of an enemy, rather it's a defeat of the division that we have seen so strongly in our nation. Maybe that's the true victory. Maybe bringing a sense of justice for all people, no matter the color of their skin, the way they worship, the way they love. Maybe victory is really a sense that we are so secure in God's love for us that we can greet those who are different from us with blessing instead of curse. I wonder if maybe in these next months and years we might redefine our image of victory as not power over and the defeat of our perceived enemies, but rather victory really is a change of our own hearts and minds, that we begin to seek out our neighbor in love and peace. Maybe that's the true victory, a victory that will bring something more satisfying than simply the defeat of those who are different than us. Those are just some ponderings that I've had on Psalm 20. I invite you to look this psalm up during the course of the day and meditate on it yourself and ask yourself, what is victory? Over what do we want to find a new way forward? And that really is, I think, helpful to think of Jesus as our guide and model for how we think about this psalm and how we move forward together. Bless you all. Continue health and safety for everyone. Love everybody. And we'll talk to you again soon. Bye now.